1988. I took a risk and followed a dream. I had what Michael Gerber in his book E-Myth refers to as an entrepreneurial seizure. Sitting around, everything's fine. And I have a thought. Man, I'd like to own my own business. So, with my best friend, we borrowed money from family and bought a little old gym in downtown Greensboro. I knew nothing about business. Gayla hadn't had a chance to take any of your classes then. I did know that I loved this gym, and I loved the members. Over time, the membership grew, our staff grew, our revenues grew, and our families grew as we began to have children. We encountered a common barrier that prevents small businesses from experiencing significant growth. Capital. Extra cash. You see, all of our money was at work in the business. So in 1998, we found a solution. We sold and merged with a local physician who had the money we needed. Let's call him Don. And with a few others, we became minority partners. 5 years later, things were not going so well. 2 partners had been fired. Early in March, on 2002, hello? Hey, Don. It's Don. Oh, I'm just hanging out with some friends. Yeah. Meeting today? With you? Sure, I'll be there. And a few hours later, I walked out of that meeting with Don, fired from the company I once owned. Felt like I had been punched in the face, and I couldn't punch back. My confidence was rattled. I was dazed and a little bit relieved. At least the waiting was over. So our theme for these messages are a gift to the heart. And Pat, when she approached a team of us a few weeks ago, we were actually on the phone. I couldn't make the meeting, and she said, "Rich, here's the theme. We're going to gift to the heart. Can you think of a time in your life where perhaps you faced a challenge or life trauma and something that really knocked you down and you couldn't get up? Can you think of anything?" I said, "Think of anything? I'm not sure which one I'm going to talk about." I said, "Pat, I can speak on Sunday if you want, and I can also do a weekend revival." That's great. So, my mind went to two teachings. One is in Romans chapter 8, verse 28, where it says, "We know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him." And then the Buddhist teaching, which says, "When the student is ready, the teacher will appear." You know, there's times when it's difficult for me to see God's good. And there's times where I don't feel like being a student. When the teacher hurts so much. So let's consider from this experience, and perhaps some similar experiences that you might have had, where we can pull some gifts. Because the benefit now, is hindsight, is I get to see that being fired really was a good gift from God and a valuable teaching. A few weeks ago, I was finishing up some work with a client in Atlanta, boarded the Delta flight to Greensboro, buckled up when the flight attendant began her safety announcements. And much like you, I do not pay attention. There's always one part, though, that actually grabs my ear. And it's when, in this case, she said, in the unlikely event that we lose cabin pressure, an oxygen mask will descend from the overhead compartment, grab hold of it, and immediately place it on the person next to you. Is that what she said? No. You shouldn't see. You do pay attention. What are her instructions? Now, we're from the South, aren't we? That sounds selfish. I mean, I can see this right now. Bless her heart. I believe she's blue. We have an elderly person or a child next to us who is in need, right? Doesn't it make sense that we would first take care of that person next to us? Why is that instruction actually wise? See, we get it, don't we? At 30,000 feet, we get it. We're no good for other people unless we've got some oxygen. Unless we first take care of ourselves. Yet what I find in my own life and the people I work with and the people I have relationships with is that at sea level, we don't get it. Perhaps we need somebody in our lives to give us permission. Perhaps every day we would have someone in our life say, Elaine, today, if you need oxygen, grab hold of the mask and suck it on in. Because we often are giving our attention, our time, our energy, our resources to other people. So the first hard lesson that came out of this experience was, Rich, be kind to yourself. Yeah, be kind to yourself. And I began to ask, well, what is it to be kind to myself? What does it look like to be kind to myself? And the first thing that came to my mind was, be patient with your feelings. Stop judging your feelings. The grieving process of loss, whether you're angry or whether you are fearful. Right? Men, that happens to us sometimes, right? We get afraid. To accept and be kind to those feelings that come our way when a life lesson unfolds that we hadn't planned on. We can also be kind to ourselves by doing good things for ourselves. One of the benefits of getting fired is you have time. And I had time. I had time to pick up my daughters from school, to take them to school, to go to their games, to be free, to make some choices on my own. And an interesting thing happened. I began to wonder, what am I going to do with this time? What are some things I like? And my mind went blank. I couldn't remember what I liked. Because I had spent so many years believing what other people told me I should like. I didn't know. So I actually did some journaling. And this journal, I named it Wake Up and Dream. Because I needed to wake up and dream. And actually this journal spans a number of years because the fire was in 2002 and 2005 I got divorced after 19 years of marriage. So there was a lot of opportunity during this time. But one of the things I wrote down was under this heading, things I like. Things I like. Here they are. Food. Now those of you who know me, you see that I exercise that like. Okay, so I look back. Beer. I like beer. But you know what? People had told me that I shouldn't drink beer. So I believed them. I started drinking beer again. Physical activity, the arts. I like music and plays and other people's talents. I like beautiful sights, locations, travel, especially the mountains. I like laughter and comedy places. I like interesting, different people, customs, accents, traditions, food again. I like coffee shops. I like restaurants. I like adventure. Man, I had to write down and give myself permission to do the things that I liked. Another way we can be kind to ourselves is consider the people that we interact with. You know, who are the people that we spend time with, the conversations we have? Are they supporting our self-kindness? And again, if not, then they should talk to Don. They should get the call. So the first principle, or the first gift to the heart after this experience, was permission to be kind to myself. The second principle appeared during a run. Now when I run, it's really my time of solitude. I don't listen to any music. I typically don't run with partners because it is a time where all that can go away. And I'm able to hear more clearly the conversations I need with God. And it was only a few months, or actually a few weeks after being fired, that I had a couple opportunities come my way. And people would say to me, "Chip, how's it going, Rich?" And I say, "It's going great. I've got two really good opportunities that I'm going to choose from, and I'm kind of investigating them both right now. What a gift to have, two choices." And I walk away and I feel like crap. And that bothered me, because I just told them it's going great. Yet inside I had this conflict going on. And I was like, why is that? I'm not kind of lying. Where is this internal conflict coming from? Well, I have two opportunities. Why do I feel this burden on me? So I was out running one day and contemplating that question. Right? And when you question the universe, God replies. And this day, God replied with a scenario. He said, "Rich, imagine you're going to take Taylor." My oldest daughter then was probably about 10 years old. Imagine you're going to take Taylor to the store to buy a bike. And you get to Target, and she's excited, and you're excited as the gift giver, and you say, "Taylor, we have two bikes to choose from. There's a purple bike and a pink bike. Which one do you want?" Now, Taylor, before you choose, let me just tell you one thing. One of the bikes will break right after you get it home. So go ahead and choose! Aren't you excited? I thought, that's ridiculous. Why would I do that? If I'm going to give a gift to my daughter, the gift of choice, she's going to take the pink or the purple. The boy's going to be fantastic. And the boy said, "Yes, that's what I do for you." You see, what I had, the truth that came out is that somewhere in my teaching, somewhere in my programming, I had believed that choices were always good or bad. Perhaps it was growing up in the Catholic Church. I don't know. And so although I had these choices, I was convinced that I was under the pressure to make the right choice, that one would break right after I got it home. It was like The Price is Right, And people were like, "Well, take the curtain, the curtain." And that was creating a burden from me. And the message was so clear: "Rich, this is not good and bad. This is not, should you take your neighbor's wife? That's another conversation." Most of our life really is good and good. And Rich, you get to choose. And I thought, well, how do I choose? And the voice said, "What do you want? What speaks to you? What gets you excited? You get to pick." Man, I came home from that run transformed. I thought, wow, I get to pick. And I thought about Khalil Gibran, who's an 18th century philosopher and poet, who said, "When we are born, our work is placed within our hearts." And I said, wow, what work speaks to my heart? Which of these choices really makes my heart excited? And I chose the one that led me here. I'm sure the other one would have been a good choice as well. But the choice is good and good. So the second heart lesson from that is be open to the good that will surely come our way. So the first is to be kind to ourselves and to love ourselves. And second is to be open, because good is coming. Good will show up, and we get to choose. Third principle, it was actually late 2008, 2009. So I had made this choice, this career choice, and I chose the work, the new work, that was placed in my heart. And a few years later, I was at another kind of transformation of that work. And I don't know if you remember, late 2008, early 2009, yes. The economy, yes, we remember. And in my business, which is consulting, workshops, learning and development within organizations, those budgets are cut immediately. And there was no business on the books. I'd never had that happen. I've never had a quarter and another quarter where there was no business on the books. Felt like another punch in the face. what good is in here? What teaching is available? So, I was actually at my computer. So it was January. I was at my computer. And I was looking at some learning events by a guy named Alan Weiss. He consults with consultants. So I'm one of his customers. I've heard him speak before, and I bought some of his books. Generally, Alan Weiss's learning experiences, when he gathers proteges in to give his knowledge, run in the tens of thousands. And this day on the computer, I saw a 2-day event in Rhode Island for $2,500. Now, I did not have $2,500, nor did I send out any invoices for $2,500. So there was none now, and there was none in the future. And it didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense in my programming and my learning that I would invest with something I didn't have. I thought, gosh, that would be really good. If I could learn Alan Weiss, that might help kickstart my business. But it doesn't make sense to spend money I don't have. I mean, we're putting groceries on the Visa card right now. And as I sat staring at the computer, having this conversation about not making sense, Ivy walked by. And I said, Ivy, Alan Weiss is on the computer. You know how he only costs $10,000? It's $2,500. I know we don't have the money. And she said, that's a good idea. You should go. It would be good for you. Man, I pulled out that credit card. I enrolled myself. Got a round-trip ticket to Rhode Island, 2 nights lodging. And I was at that conference where I learned some really important action items that were applied when I got back, that were directly connected to the significant growth of my business as 2009, 10, and 11 unfolded. You see, there are times where what doesn't make sense makes perfect sense. That our programming is trying to talk us out of something because of this rigidity that we grew up with. And we need somebody to say, that makes perfect sense. So the third point really is to be willing to do what makes perfect sense. So the 3 heart gifts from being fired: be kind to ourselves, love ourselves, be open to the gifts, to the opportunities that are sure to come our way, and to be willing to take action on the things that don't make sense. On 12:38 a.m., January 3rd, 2012, after 4.5 years of metastatic breast cancer that had spread to her bones and her brain and her skin, my wife Ivy died. Before she died, we had conversations about the service, the memorial service, and she gave me only a few guidelines. One was, don't have a funeral. Have a celebration. The other one was, we might want to have it at a different church. And here's why. This never dawned on me. Ivy had an impression that we might need more seats. And man, she was right. Because that place was packed that night, remember? We had a celebration. And as a professional speaker, this was a venue I had never practiced for. I had never prepared for. Yet Ivy was my biggest fan. And nobody could tell her story like I could. So I had to speak. And at the end, there was a long line of condolences before people would go to the party. About an hour into those condolences, I saw him. Don. Wow. It's been 10 years. And I stared at him. He said, Rich, that was beautiful. This is the work you're made to do. I stared at him some more. I put out my hand, I said, Don, thank you for the push. He said, I needed you to help me get here. And it became clear that the punch in the face and the rattled confidence and the uncertainty, all those feelings that were real and true 10 years ago had been replaced. They had been replaced with a new experience, a new feeling called gratitude. You see, and that's the opportunity, that's the gift. The gift to our heart when circumstances show up in our life that rattle us, that knock us down, that have us wondering why. The gift is that someday those feelings, once we're kind to ourselves, and once we open up, and once we become willing, those feelings will be turned in for our feelings of gratitude. Let's say our affirmation together. Here's how it goes. I awaken in total trust that everything the universe brings me this day is a gift of love and support. I feel deep appreciation for these gifts, and I unconditionally accept them all. I feel the abundance bestowed upon me by the universe, and I joyfully accept all the riches inherent in this day. I accept these gifts of love and support. I express it fully to all I see and interact with.